When everything feels unstable, the quiet search for peace. Have you ever woken up in the morning with a strange heaviness in your chest? Nothing clearly wrong, yet nothing feels safe either. The world keeps moving, deadlines keep coming, the news never seems to rest, and somehow the future feels less solid than it used to. You do what you're supposed to do, you plan, you work, you try to stay positive, and still, beneath it all, there's a quiet question echoing inside. What if everything I'm counting on changes? This feeling is more common than we admit. In fact, for many people today, uncertainty has become the background noise of daily life. Economic shifts, health concerns, changing relationships, social pressure, constant comparison. Life no longer feels predictable. And when life feels uncertain, peace can feel like a luxury reserved for other people, other situations, or some distant future where everything finally works out. But what if peace was never meant to wait for certainty? In modern culture, especially in fast-paced, achievement-driven societies, we're taught that calm comes after control, after stability, after success. We tell ourselves, once I have this figured out, I'll relax, or when things settle down, I'll feel okay. Yet life has a way of moving the finish line just as we think we're getting close. The result? A quiet exhaustion. Not always dramatic, not always visible, just a constant low-level tension, like bracing for something that hasn't happened yet. This is where many people begin searching. Some turn to productivity, others to distractions, some to self-help promises that say the right mindset will fix everything. But even after all the advice, all the effort, the sense of unease often remains. Because the problem isn't that life feels uncertain. The problem is that we believe peace depends on certainty. In the wisdom traditions of the East, especially within Buddhist thought, there is a radically different starting point. Instead of asking, how do I make life predictable? The question becomes, how do I live peacefully within change? This isn't a religious demand or a belief system you must accept. It's practical wisdom, observations about the human mind that are just as relevant today as they were centuries ago. From this perspective, uncertainty isn't a failure of life. It's the natural condition of being alive. Everything changes: circumstances, emotions, identities, plans. When we expect life to stay still, we suffer. When we learn to move with it, something softens inside us. But that doesn't mean ignoring fear or pretending everything is fine. It means learning a new relationship with uncertainty. Most of us were never taught how to sit with not knowing. We were taught to fix, to plan, to achieve, to stay ahead. So when uncertainty shows up, when answers aren't clear, when outcomes aren't guaranteed, the mind panics. It spins stories. It imagines worst-case scenarios. It replays the past and rehearses the future, often missing the only place where peace can actually exist, right here, right now. Peace, in this sense, isn't excitement. It isn't constant happiness. It's a quiet steadiness beneath the waves of experience, a feeling of being grounded even when the ground seems to shift. And here's the part that often surprises people. Peace doesn't come from eliminating uncertainty. It comes from understanding it. When we stop fighting the fact that life is unpredictable, we begin to notice something subtle. Even in uncertain moments, there is still breath, still awareness, still a choice in how we respond, still a space inside us that isn't shaken by every external change. This space is not created by force, it's revealed through attention. That's why Buddhist wisdom places so much emphasis not on controlling life, but on understanding the mind. Because when the mind learns to stop clinging to certainty, it naturally becomes more open, more resilient, and more calm. This doesn't mean giving up goals or responsibilities. It means no longer tying your sense of inner safety to outcomes you can't fully control. Think about how much energy we spend trying to guarantee the future, mentally rehearsing conversations, worrying about things that may never happen, holding ourselves hostage to what-ifs. Now imagine redirecting even a fraction of that energy towards presence, clarity, and compassion towards yourself. That shift alone can change how uncertainty feels in your body. Instead of a threat, it becomes a signal, an invitation to slow down, to return to what's real, to notice what's still stable inside you, even when everything else is moving. If you're listening to this and something resonates, if you're tired of searching for peace in places that never quite deliver, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're simply human, living in a world that rarely pauses. This is exactly why we create content here. If you're looking for calm, clarity, and grounded wisdom for modern life, consider subscribing to Buddha Flash. This channel is a quiet space in a noisy world, a place to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. No pressure, no perfection, just gentle reminders that peace is possible, even now. In the next part, we'll look more deeply at why uncertainty hurts so much and how understanding it can transform it from a source of fear into one of growth and insight. Because when we stop seeing uncertainty as the enemy, we begin to discover a different kind of strength, one that doesn't depend on life going according to plan. And that's where real peace begins.
Why uncertainty hurts and what it teaches us. Uncertainty doesn't just live in our thoughts. We feel it in the body. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restless nights, a constant sense of alertness as if something might go wrong at any moment. Even when nothing bad is happening right now, the mind can make the future feel like a threat. To understand how to find peace in uncertain times, we first need to understand why uncertainty hurts so deeply. At its core, the human brain is designed to seek safety. For most of human history, predictability meant survival. Knowing where food came from, recognizing familiar patterns, and anticipating danger helped our ancestors stay alive. That same survival mechanism still exists today, but instead of scanning the jungle, it scans emails, bank accounts, social media, relationships, and headlines. The mind asks endlessly, am I safe? What's going to happen next? What if I lose what I have? When clear answers don't appear, the mind fills the gap with fear. In modern society, this is amplified. We're surrounded by information, choices, and comparisons. We're told we should be improving, achieving, optimizing, always moving forward. Uncertainty in this environment feels like falling behind, like failure, like weakness. So we try to control it. We plan more, we think harder, we replay conversations, we analyze every possibility. We convince ourselves that if we can just figure things out far enough in advance, we'll finally be able to relax. But control has limits. No matter how intelligent, careful, or prepared we are, life remains unpredictable. People change, bodies change, circumstances shift. And when reality refuses to cooperate with our plans, frustration turns into anxiety, and anxiety slowly becomes suffering. From a Buddhist perspective, the root of this suffering isn't uncertainty itself.
It's our resistance to it. One of the most fundamental teachings in Buddhism is impermanence, the understanding that everything is in constant change. This isn't meant to sound bleak or pessimistic. It's simply an observation. Emotions arise and pass. Situations evolve. Nothing stays exactly the same from moment to moment. Yet much of our pain comes from acting as if things should stay the same. We cling to how things were. We attach our sense of identity to roles, routines, and outcomes. We tell ourselves, this is how my life is supposed to be. And when reality doesn't match that story, we feel betrayed. Uncertainty exposes this clinging. It shows us how tightly we're holding on to certainty, to security, to an image of the future that may never arrive. And the tighter we cling, the more painful the experience becomes when change inevitably comes. But here's the subtle insight. Impermanence is not the enemy of peace. In fact, it can be the doorway to it. When we truly understand that everything is changing, something inside us begins to loosen. We stop demanding guarantees from life. We stop expecting the future to behave according to our preferences. And in that letting go, a different kind of stability appears, not in circumstances, but in awareness. This is where many people misunderstand the idea of letting go. Letting go does not mean giving up on your goals. It does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It does not mean accepting injustice or avoiding responsibility. Letting go means releasing the belief that your inner peace depends on outcomes you cannot fully control. You can still care deeply. You can still work hard. You can still plan and prepare. But instead of tying your emotional survival to success or failure, you learn to meet each moment as it arrives. This shift is subtle but powerful. When uncertainty arises, instead of immediately reacting, tightening, worrying, resisting, you begin to observe. You notice the fear without becoming it. You feel the discomfort without letting it define you. You recognize that uncertainty is an experience, not an identity. And in that space of observation, something remarkable happens. Uncertainty becomes a teacher. It teaches humility, reminding us that we don't control everything. It teaches presence, pulling us out of imagined futures and back into what's real. It teaches compassion, softening our judgment of ourselves and others who are also navigating the unknown. When life feels certain, we often move on autopilot. But when certainty disappears, we wake up. We start asking deeper questions. We re-examine what truly matters. We realize how much energy we've spent chasing security instead of cultivating peace. This doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't mean uncertainty suddenly feels comfortable, but it does mean that uncertainty no longer has to be terrifying. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of this feeling? The question becomes, what is this moment asking me to see? Am I clinging to control? Am I resisting change? Am I forgetting that I can only live one moment at a time? In Buddhist wisdom, suffering decreases not when life becomes predictable, but when the mind becomes flexible. When we stop demanding certainty, we begin to discover resilience. When we stop fighting impermanence, we start moving with it. And this prepares us for something essential, because understanding uncertainty intellectually is one thing, but learning to live peacefully within it is another. In the next part, we'll explore practical ways to cultivate peace right here, right now. Simple practices that don't require belief, perfection, or special circumstances. Just a willingness to meet life as it is. Because peace isn't found at the end of uncertainty. It's found in the middle of it.
finding peace here and now. Practical wisdom for everyday life. At some point, after all the thinking, worrying, and planning, a quiet realization begins to surface. Life may never feel completely certain. And strangely, that realization can feel like relief. Because if peace depends on certainty, then peace will always be postponed, waiting for the next milestone, the next solution, the next moment when everything finally makes sense. But if peace is possible within uncertainty, then it becomes available right now, in this very moment, just as life is. This is one of the most transformative insights in Buddhist wisdom. Peace is not a destination, it's a way of relating to experience. Many of us unconsciously tell ourselves, once this problem is solved, I'll be calm. Or when things settle down, I'll be at peace. But life doesn't work in chapters that neatly close before the next one begins. One challenge fades, another appears. One uncertainty resolves, another takes its place. If we wait for life to be stable before allowing ourselves peace, we may wait forever. The invitation, then, is simple, but not easy. Can we learn to be at peace without waiting for certainty? The answer doesn't come from grand ideas or perfect discipline. It comes from small, consistent practices that gently retrain the mind to rest where it already is. Let's explore 3 practical approaches that can help bring peace into everyday life, even when nothing feels resolved. 1. Returning to the breath, the anchor in uncertainty. When the future feels overwhelming, the mind leaves the present. It rushes ahead, searching for answers, rehearsing outcomes, imagining scenarios that may never happen. The body follows, tightening, bracing, preparing for danger that exists only in thought. The breath brings us back, not as a spiritual ritual, but as a physical anchor. Right now, no matter how uncertain life feels, you are breathing. This moment has a rhythm. When attention rests on the breath, just for a few seconds, the nervous system begins to settle. The mind has something simple and real to touch. You don't need to control the breath. You don't need to change it. Just notice it. In and out. Here and now. This small act interrupts the cycle of fear. It reminds you that even if the future is unclear, the present moment is still alive, still happening, still manageable. Peace begins not by solving the future, but by fully arriving in the present. 2. Observing thoughts instead of believing them. When uncertainty arises, the mind becomes a storyteller. It predicts, warns, judges, and catastrophizes. Thoughts appear convincing, urgent, and personal. But a crucial insight from Buddhist psychology is this: thoughts are events, not facts. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's true, and just because it feels real doesn't mean you have to follow it. Instead of arguing with your thoughts or trying to silence them, try observing them. Notice how they arise. Notice how they repeat. Notice how they pass, often on their own. When you see thoughts as mental activity rather than absolute truth, their grip loosens. You don't have to solve every worry to find peace. You simply need to stop letting every thought decide how you feel. This creates space, and in that space, clarity grows. You begin to respond to life rather than react to fear. 3. Accepting the moment without liking it. Acceptance is often misunderstood. It's not approval. It's not surrendering your values. It's not saying, "This is fine."
Acceptance simply means acknowledging reality as it is, instead of fighting it. When uncertainty shows up, we often add a second layer of suffering by telling ourselves it shouldn't be happening. I should have this figured out by now. This isn't how my life was supposed to go. Acceptance says, this is what's here right now. Nothing more, nothing less. From that place, wise action becomes possible. When we stop wasting energy resisting reality, we can use that energy to care for ourselves, to choose thoughtfully, to move forward without panic. Acceptance creates peace not by changing life, but by changing our relationship with it. And this is where something profound becomes clear. Peace doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means fear no longer controls you. Peace doesn't mean life makes sense. It means you don't need it to. Peace is the quiet confidence that whatever arises, you can meet it, one breath, one moment at a time. There's a simple story often shared in Buddhist teachings. A storm rages on the surface of the ocean, but deep below, the water remains calm. The storm doesn't need to stop for the depth to exist. Both can be true at once. In the same way, uncertainty may still swirl around your life. Questions may remain unanswered. Outcomes may still be unknown. But beneath all of that, there is a deeper steadiness available to you if you're willing to stop searching for certainty and start cultivating presence. You don't need to wait for permission to be at peace. You don't need life to cooperate. Peace is something you practice gently, imperfectly, again and again. If this reflection resonated with you and you're seeking calm, clarity, and grounded wisdom for navigating modern life, we invite you to subscribe to Buddha Flash. This channel is here to support you with thoughtful insights, quiet moments, and practical guidance so you don't have to walk this path alone. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. When life feels uncertain, what helps you find peace, even for a moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.